So again, thank you so much for coming to speaker series number 19, Waterfront for All, with our special guest, Don Boyle, the Chief Executive Officer of Exhibition Place. And I will proceed now to do our land acknowledgement. And I will just bring that up. We acknowledge that we are meeting on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples. And Toronto is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that this is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. And it's our privilege and honor to be here on this traditional territory with. So again, thanks very much for coming. We are pleased to have, as I said, Don Boyle, the CEO of Exhibition Place with us. Don has had a distinguished career in public service. He was head of Parks and Rec for City of Toronto for many years. He was a city manager in Southwestern Ontario after, and then somehow we managed to convince him to come back to Toronto and take on the job at Exhibition Place, which he's held since 2019. And it is our, and I think, I was talking to a friend of mine about this evening, I think, and won't mention any names. And he sort of said, why is Waterfront for All hosting something about the X? And I said, well, it's on the waterfront. It is definitely on the waterfront. Okay, so Don, with no further ado, I am going to ask you to lead us, through your 4.5 hours of prepared remarks.
Yeah, that's perfect. Well, only 4.5. We got 5, so I'll cut it down a little bit
Thank you so much.
I get into there. But I just give you a sort of high level. We've got an agenda I've put together. Belinda's going to share it here with respect to it to try to highlight Exhibition Place, give a little bit of a history to it, but not a history lesson. And just to try to get people up to speed of what's taking place here. I think there's one of the big things is, first of all, we're Exhibition Place. With all respect, we're not X Place, we're Exhibition Place. We're not the CNE. We lease to the CNE for the 18 days. I love Mark Holland. We've got a great working relationship, and Mike Cruz and the whole gang at the CNE, but they're one of our 25 tenants here at Exhibition Place. We host over 2,000 events a year, almost a $600 million economic impact, and we attract just under 6 million people to our grounds. And so I just thought I'd just start off with a map and just to sort of give a sense. This is the map with 192 acres. That encompasses it. Our budget is responsible for everything within this envelope, including roads, much of the underground sewer, electrical, street lighting, road closures, buildings, heritage features, all fall under the responsibility of Exhibition Place. And it's something that we take very seriously. We have a capital budget of about $22 billion a year. We spend it 100%. Our spend rate. We just did a 500,000 square foot roof rehabilitation on Enercare 2 months early and on budget. And essentially, our projects on the site do come in on budget. And one of the things that when you compare agencies, the spend rate is somewhere in the 50 to 70% for most agencies in city, and we're at 100%. So we've got a great capital team, always prioritizing our work as we move forward throughout the year. Lots of moving parts with the 25 tenants in close proximity. And one of the things that we find is just the congestion, as I'm sure people online right now understand. And so when you're trying to coordinate 2,000, this year will be 29 events. That takes a lot of work, but that sort of gives you the scope. It includes, Liberty Grand, Medieval Times, Toronto Event Center, the QE Theater and Annabelle's with live music upstairs. QE Theater capacity about 1,600. lit 18 to 20 nights a month right now. And the Horse Palace, we have a community riding association club in there that does lessons and competes, as well as the Toronto Mounted Police. Hotel X Phase 1 that's existing with Playbook Common Restaurant, an Italian steakhouse, sports bar on the main level, Roses on the second, and Valerie's on the 28th floor. So there is food available at Exhibition Place and restaurants if you come down through here. And in fact, it's very heavily booked. We looked at the numbers just a week ago, and its numbers now are comparable to all the top end hotels in the downtown core as far as revenue per room night, occupancy rates, and it's on a straight up to the right, growing each year, and so very, very successful. We got the automotive building, which used to be the Beanfield. That sponsorship left. They sold the Beanfield sold their rights, and so right now it's automotive building where we hold corporate events with Sodexo Live and Cerise. We've got Enercare, 1,000,000 square feet with we have the Oakview Group that does food and beverage in that site. We got Coca-Cola Coliseum with PWHL, 40 plus concerts a year right now, and the WNBA starting this May. We just finished $10 million. Well, not finished. We're in the midst of a $10 million reno for the WNBA team taking place there as well. So we got BMO Field with TFC. They're starting the stands for FIFA at the moment, and that's taking place. And then we have the CNE at the administrative building or the press building, and we have the Royal Agricultural Winter Fair offices inside our buildings as well. And so a lot of moving parts, a lot of activity, and then Centennial Park, which is really our gem. The park where we've done a lot of work over the last few years, and we have a plan moving forward. So that's kind of a like high level overview. Our strategic plan, which will be coming to an end at the end of 2026, and so once we get into probably the first quarter of 2026, we'll begin kicking off at 2027 to 31 strategic plan. These are the pillars that the plan is based on. A big emphasis was on promoting the site Animation 365, and we've seen with brand identity. If you've been down on the site, you've seen all the relighting of the Horse Palace building, all the architectural lighting within it, the food building now lit year round, the Dufferin Arch now lit all year round, Liberty Grand in the Toronto Event Center lit now all year round, and much improvement on all the pathway lighting throughout the grounds. And so we put a considerable amount of effort into that, as well as Princess Boulevard. The 50 odd trees that line Princess Boulevard are all lit now, coordinated with the Enercare Center as well. So lots of work done on that. And as we move forward, there will be public consultation with respect to input into the strategic plan moving forward. I've just tried to break it at a very high level because there's lots of people who have opinions about Exhibition Place, but many people haven't been down here in many, many years. And so oftentimes it's more impressions than it is experience. Pre-1997, at a super high level, the grounds were focused on the Canadian National Exhibition, the Royal Agricultural Winter Fair. Buildings that were built like BLC, where the Toronto Event Center is, where Liberty Grand is, where the Medieval Times had no HVAC systems. In fact, the buildings were open air, and were many of them were with wood over the doorways, trying to prevent people from getting access into it off season, outside the fair days. Those buildings did not operate late fall to late spring. And so that was an area where these buildings back in, I think it was in the early 90s, where they started talking about demolition, and Metro Toronto was looking after the area. There wasn't money for it. And so that was sort of spread to the That was probably the Joe Pantalone era, looking at other alternative uses and bringing in private sector money because the city didn't have money back in those days. The Better Living Center, a large building, about 220,000 square feet. It's built with a suspended floor, and so it's not slab on grade. And so there's no significant weight loads that you can put inside that building because of weight loads. It's not on grade. Again, no HVAC system, no insulation, and because of that, and because of its limitations, its occupancy is very, very low. Hockey Hall of Fame, you might remember that. It moved to the grounds in 1961 and left in 71, moved from Kingston here and had a stay. And an exhibition stadium was built in 1977 for the Blue Jays. And so that was kind of like it was really a Canadian National Exhibition, a Royal Agricultural Winter Fair for 18 days in August, and then the Royal Winter Fair in November. The National Trade Center in 1997. The National Trade Center was built. It was designed to modernize Toronto's exhibition facilities. It was a three-level government supported build, and it has done just that. Now that is the Enercare building. Hotel X opened up in 2018, and that with the bridge that was built between Automotive Building really provides us with hotel rooms that we needed for the convention and exhibition business. The second phase, which I'll talk about in a few minutes, will just go further to that and allow us to bid for more international and national conventions and business meetings. Through that period, lots of events like the IndyCar racing, the International Boat Show, the Pope visit, the Pan Am Games. And this is where a lot of times people talk about the parking lot south of BMO Field 852 and 851 as being sort of possibilities. And certainly they could be beautified, but this is the event space. Take that event space out, you don't have a CNE, you don't have the ability to accommodate events such as the Pan Am Games and the Pope, and it basically eliminates the CNE from our site. And so we've worked really, really close with the CNE on all the plans at Exhibition Place to ensure that we can support it along with all the other events and yet still do more. We have the G20 Summit, one of a kind show, which this year actually was its 50th year. It started out in the QE Hall and grew and has been in the Intercare Center for some years. And this was their 50th anniversary, as well as the home show, but many, many more. We had Shopify in here a few months ago, 7,000 staff, 3,000 vendors. It was about a $50 million economic impact. Well, it was a $50 million spend in the city of Toronto, let alone the multiplier effect on the economic impact of the Shopify event here. We signed them for next year as well, and this has become a Shopify home, taking over after Collision left. And so many of the Salesforce, Google, Royal Bank, TD, have all held their large events here this past few years. This video, I just want to show you just to give you a sense of just the things that are taking place here that you might not be necessarily aware of, but just to give you a sense of the activities that are taking place and the multiple activities. And so I just wanted to just give you a little show of this. So that was just to give you a taste of what's taking place here at Exhibition Place and constantly with the over 2,000 events. There's something taking place every day here in large crowds. And one of our challenges is really the amount of events now that are overlapping on the site, whether it's through BMO Field and Coca-Cola or one of a kind show or any of our consumer shows and business shows. And so it's really that coordination of effort and the things taking place here. When I got here in 2019, one of the big pieces, one of the things we really weren't doing a great job of is was including the local community and being more and kind of looked at the site as being okay. It's great for all of its events. It's great for showing up at a ticketed event, driving in, consuming, going to meetings. But for the casual, where am I going to go for a stroll on the site? And so one of the big things that we've really done is try to work on that. As I said, I probably mentioned so many times, like this year will be 2,029 events, 6 million guests, and $600 million in economic impact. But really, the big thing about it is the ability to bring in the local community. And through my background in Parks and Recreation, I remember being a recreation director looking to do a citywide children and youth ball hockey championships and trying to book space down at Exhibition Place and essentially being turned away that it was too expensive, couldn't do it, too complicated and complex. And so basically got turned away. And that was something that I never really forgot. It was really a place that looked inward and not outward and put up borders to communities. And so one of our big things that we really looked at doing was embracing the community. And so through a lot of consultations and a lot of good friends of Exhibition Place who had been working tirelessly, I mean, some of the records since 2014, pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing for local events and local interest to take place here with no success or very, very little success. That was a big push for us here at Exhibition Place to move forward. And so I note here just through that programming, we continue it and the numbers are getting larger as we move forward and we become more known about it. But, improving the amenities at Centennial Park, but also Banjo Park, and just generally across the grounds. It's now it's a park and it's a well-kept park. It's a welcoming park. The articles in the Toronto Star I read last weekend about, if you don't do something, then something's going to happen to you. And, the fountains seem to work some of the times. No, the fountains work all the time. We put such effort into our amenities that these things we invest a lot of money into. So the fountains do. We open up the washrooms. They're open up late at night so the public coming through have access to them. We've looking at plans for increasing that ability to do it in our sort of concept vision that we're hoping to bring forward in the spring. But we've really embraced the community. And so the Centennial amenities have greatly improved. We've worked with Six Nations and Chief Claire Salt, who's amazing at Mississauga. The credit, I was a city manager in Haldimand County in 2007 when the Highway 6 was blockaded. And so I became very close with the Mississauga, the Credit, and Six Nations and built really strong relationships there. And so this interpretive sculpture wall really is Exhibition's Place is participation and bringing it forward. We did classes this summer with local Toronto Parks and Recreation on Indigenous interpretation, moccasin camp, and the sketches and the storytelling from Mississaugas. And with the help of Claire and Larry, who's a counselor with the Mississaugas, we're going to be doing more of that next year. We did sketching classes, groups of 65 to 85 people coming through the grounds to sketch our buildings. It's some really amazing work. Our honeybee harvesting from the honey bees that are on the roof of Enercare, in which we actually produce honey. The Music in the Park series, the community picnic. The community picnic was an individual who on social media just simply raised one night, hey, wouldn't it be kind of cool if we could all just get together? It's kind of a cold, lonely city to many people who have moved here. And to the great work of my chair, Uzma Malik, who's done some really incredible work and has been a big supporter. She called me on a Sunday night, is there anything we could do? We tried Turning Bellwoods, we tried a few other places, we're not having any luck. I said, well, let's just hold the Centennial Park. we could do it there. And we had over 1,000 picnickers come out to, and we expect to do more of that in the future. The ghost walks, which are always very popular here, the exhibition place tours. Some of the tours that we do here ourselves with Bruce and others, and then some of the tours that take place with actual tour operators who come through here from architectural or heritage tours of the site. And this last one is one that I'm really proud of. A young lady that works for us, Jen Ballantyne, brought forward the monarch butterfly and the challenges the monarch butterfly is having in city parks and across Canada for that matter. And we're on a migration route, and so one of the things we did was create pollinator gardens last year. And so on the southwest side of the grounds now, we have 3 pollinator gardens. And literally, you could stand by the fountains and have 8 to 12 butterflies in its first year flying around, getting the milkweed, which is essential for their survival. We've got to put a policy right away as soon as we sort of knew more about it that we don't cut any of the milkweed between June and late October when it's migration season, and so anything that's going to be cut or trimmed will be done before that, and we try to leave it in as best as possible. And we've also decided to sign it so that people know that it's intentional. Why the gardens look sometimes wild to some, that it is for the feeding of the monarch butterfly. And so that's something we did this past summer, and we've had some really great success with it. And then providing for the free public skates and Coca-Cola, providing kids in the neighborhood an opportunity to come out and skate and participate here on this site. And so it's really being about community and about what more we can do with community. And we know we can do much, much more as we move forward through it. And that's really been our push between 2019 and today. This is a video that I just want to show you that highlights the community events. Hopefully, people on this line participated in these, or they're new to you, and it's just a realization that many things, and 2,000 things are happening down here, and these are community partnership programs that we do with local communities. So. Well, I don't know if you're exhausted, but I'm exhausted. No, just kidding. So is that good? Microphone's on. Can you hear me? I take it it's good. Get a thumbs up.
Yes, we
Yeah,
can hear you.
perfect. Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. Yeah, so I mean, those are events from this last. Thank you for the thumbs up, Anna. Appreciate it. Those are the events that the community events that didn't exist pre-night 2019. Thanks through then. They didn't exist for 2019, and it's one of the ones to Bruce and to Rick that I made the promise in 19 and said, I know it's only time will tell if I'm worth the salt or pound for salt or whatever you want to call it. And so because you got to see it, right? Like people talk the talk all the time, but they don't follow through. And so for me, it was critically important in that 219 to 225 to really make a significant difference. People would notice the lighting on the grounds, the horse palace lighting that now is, retrofitted, where the architect actually embedded the lights into the stone, have all been redone, hadn't been lit for 20 plus years. The castle tops on the towers along Enercare hadn't been lit for 15 years. The fountains that didn't work, and there's some fountains that just won't work, and it's too much. But in front of the Better Living building, as much as I've tried to get them back into working order, but we need to completely redo them. And so it's all about priorities and moving forward, but we've really made some really strong headway, and this is on the community side. The event side, our satisfaction rate from corporate clients is the best part of 90%. Our book of business is solid going into 2026 and 27 and 28 looks very, very promising. And so, but there's more we can still do, and we see that. And so that's what this next plan is about. And I could use your support in this because we've got a concept that I'm working on and working on with planning and et cetera. I'm moving it forward, but it really animates the site. And I want to show you. I can't show you too much of it. I'm just going to show you the high level and just describe it. But it's something that I'm hoping that I can get into daylight in the spring of next year as we move forward. So those were the sort of the back. This is 2026 forward. Centennial Park, you saw that. You saw the picnic there. You saw the moccasin camp, etc. We're going to be expanding that park this year, taking over parking spaces, and it's basically in lieu of the old Pee Wee ball diamond that was undersized that we lost when the OVO Center was built many years ago. And so now we'll reclaim land here and invest some significant dollars in creating six pickleball courts, one enhanced basketball court, and then park seating that's really designed as a gathering area for people, and also an area to sort of host a food truck or two to be able to make it a real community gathering spot on our site. And we see that taking place next year. In the first quarter, again, I just mentioned it, the president of a vision concept for Exhibition Place really is a talking point. Like this is just ideas from talking to residents and people over the last 6 years that we've come up with a base that is really to begin a discussion about what it is. And really, it's to animate the grounds. It's to provide connectivity to the waterfront and through the grounds that's not a parking lot, but feels animated, feels intimate, feels like it's got energy, and is welcoming, and is not cold. It's creating some new space, enabling year-round activations. People talk to me a lot about Bandshell Park and it's underutilized. Well, it's not. It's used during the CNE and it gets a great 18 days there and it works quite well for it. But it's really more of a picnic park. There's many, many trees were planted there over the years, and it suits its purpose well for that. And then it suits its purpose well for a great area to come and picnic and relax with family, and enjoy some public parkland. The sound goes towards Parkdale, and all the concerts that were ever held in that park outside the CNE days. There was countless noise complaints from the residents across the Gardner with the sound. And so we've got a concept and an idea of maybe something else that would point towards the lake, but that will come out in the whole concept plan as we move forward. But it was really a significant challenge of doing big kind of concerts at that one, particularly when the buildings were falling down and there weren't tenants in them in the before 2000. You could do those kind of things. Now that we have the buildings rehabilitated and functioning and providing some really great space, it's really in conflict when that noise goes north. And so what we're looking at that, but the plan and the concept we're looking at is really to expand the site within the site to provide more space. And there's a concept idea that would garner an additional 3 acres of public open space on the site as well. That would be very welcoming. So we'll hopefully get that out as a discussion piece in the spring. In 2028, phase two of the hotel, another 400-room hotel, will be built and a 5,500 seat performance venue. That will break ground in 2028 with projected construction period of 2031. And that will be in line with the completion of the Ontario line and the Live Nations year-round concert venue, which will go year-round, and the Third May Spa at Ontario Place. And so it's conducive. It's more family style, more casual, a lower price point. Medieval Times, a lot of people question, Medieval Times. So Medieval Times is doing a booming business. And we're at the stage now that you can actually come to Exhibition Place and stay at a hotel, go to Medieval Times, enjoy the parkland, enjoy the waterfront. It's a 1 mile walk along the waterfront to Rogers Center or to the ferry boats, and so it really becomes now a place where you can spend 3 or 4 days with a family and enjoy it. And so that's it will be coming in 2028 and ready for 2031. This next one here is so this is as much as I can really show at this time, just trying to be respectful to everybody. And essentially the concept plan, I've talked to the CNE, and I know for many of you know, but the food building is used for 18 days a year at this current juncture, and so which is just it's not plausible in a downtown area with what we want, how we want to animate it. And so the new Ontario line, although this diagram doesn't quite show it, it shifts a little bit to the west, the actual station, and the station will actually let out right in the middle of the food building. And so picture, right now we get about 4 million people off GO train in that area. So you're probably going to have about 6 million people with Ontario Place coming out at that area in the middle of food building. So we picture a revitalized food building. And as I've been saying over the last 5 years, our back of house is become our front of house. And so by far the largest percentage of people come from GO train currently. When you have the GO train and you have the subway, it will even be that much larger. And so the Princess Gates, as beautiful as they are, ceremonial. Dufferin, yes, we get people come in. Only about 8% of our visitors drive here. That parking, as much as you see a lot of parking spaces, when you look at and play with the numbers, it's a very, very small percentage of people who actually patronize the grounds that come through on that way. And so on this top right, you see the black solid line. That's essentially where you'll be coming out in the middle of the back of the food building. And right now it's slightly towards Nova Scotia, but essentially that's where you come out. And people either walk on the west side of the BMO field or they walk down a little bit down Manitoba and they come through in between Horse Palace and Coca-Cola and make their way across the bridge to Ontario Place. There's no connectivity to the Bentway, and there's no formal connectivity to Centennial Park. Although there's some sidewalk that you can take in a roundabout way to get there. The proposed strategy you see in the bottom right corner, you see the blue line basically signifies a connection underneath Strawn to make a seamless connection to the Bentway, and then come on to Exhibition Place property, and then we'll create a pedestrian-friendly way of coming through there all the way to Centennial Park in Dufferin. And so that will be one seamless pedestrian connection coming through. So that's a big piece. And we're working with the Bentway, Alana. We've got a great relationship. You saw the large mural that we just did with them. We've done 3 or 4 projects cooperatively with them. They're great partners, and we love working with them. And so that's one of the things we're looking at. We're also looking as a secondary between the Horse Palace and Coca-Cola, animating that, which will bring you right through the middle of a breezeway between the new performance venue and the hotel and take you to the bridge to Ontario Place to Budweiser Stage. And so that will certainly be a route. And then you see these pink lines. And the pink lines basically are illustrating a pedestrian promenade that would come off the Ontario line or GO train, follow the west side of the food building, and be broadened out into a real big public space where you could have outdoor food trucks. It could be augment the actual food building. It could be, buskers, entertainment. It could be kiosks coming through there. And then you come through what we call the Vine, which is sort of the narrower part between QE Hall and the BMO Field. It's actually quite large, an area. There's some trees in there that we would obviously keep, but there's some ways of doing pedestrian to make it pedestrian friendly and widen it almost twice as wide as it currently is to bring people down and through there. And then when you come out to the south side of BMO Field, then it goes much, much larger and becomes a real hub where you could fit, to give you a sense of size, you could fit in a circular skating rink. It could be it could be a winter market. It could become a festival area and within that area. And then we show a line connecting it to where the Better Living Center is and where the Bandshell Park is. And so we think there's some imagine the Better Living Center, keeping the front of it and all the heritage and architectural aspects of it at the front, having indoor permanent washrooms, having storage space, having back a house space. But that area south of it towards the lake could be removed and created into like a festival plaza area that would have access to the lake where you could have live music and have sound go out towards the water. And then between that hub, between the Better Living Center and between the area in front of Bandshell stage, becomes a really large festival area. It could potentially accommodate some of the street festivals that are having a real difficulty with congestion that in the city. It would be seamless. You'd be car free because you would use bollards to stop traffic on Princess Boulevard on the east side of BMO Field and on Manitoba on the east side of it as well. And so you'd have a whole area that would be completely a pedestrian. I call it a promenade, kind of like if you've been fortunate enough to be traveling in some cities, and I just can't think of the city offhand, but major promenade. That's what we envision in here. And so I don't get into any of the detail of it, but it's a concept. It's a concept of connectivity and opening up space. And I have gone through this with the CNE and have the CNE's full support in it because we'll actually create more event space, more animated space within it, a little bit less parking lot, and certainly a far nicer that 12-minute walk that feels like 30 minutes to get to the waterfront would feel like 4. You might not even feel it because you'd just be enthralled in what you are walking through. Lots of room for art exhibits and shows, but we see this as a really, picture a distillery market or a Bryant Park in New York, but with 3 or 4 times the area available to you. And potentially with a sort of a mixed hard surface so that you don't get all the mud. You can do it off season, you can do it spring, you can do it winter, and you could have those kind of large markets take place there. So that's kind of where we're going. We're doing a lot of work with planning heritage and the city to get to a point where we can bring forward a concept, and I'm hoping to be able to do that this spring. Really looking at establishing like distinct sort of pedestrian cycling. We want to have an area where you can safely lock and store your bike. And so whether or not that takes place underneath the gardener, but in a really well thought out and designed area, as opposed to right now we have dozens of bicycle racks across the grounds, but really looking at a purpose built area where you could leave your bike safely and encourage riders to come down not only to here, but also to Budweiser stage as well, because there's a real a need for it as we move forward. It's really about expanding the public realm and providing activation spots as we move forward. So that's kind of the concept. Hopefully, if I get invited back, if I don't blow this opportunity tonight, they'll invite me back, and I could do the update as we get there closer and get some input on it. But that's kind of where what we're looking at moving forward. This last one, I'll stay on for questions by all means, but. So thank you for joining tonight. I wanted to bring your attention that one of the things about Exhibition Place is literally it is busy 365 days. And I thought the one day in the year it might not be busy was New Year's Day. And unfortunately, not unfortunately, but fortunately, it's a 2 o'clock Marley's game on New Year's Day. But in the morning, we're going to hold a 5K resolution Exhibition Place run walk through here that will start off inside the Enercare building with a DJ and music, free coffee, hot chocolate, and the doors will open up at 9:30, in which you'll run down the ramp onto Manitoba around the east end of Enercare and onto Princess Boulevard, running towards sort of down Princess towards BMO Field. There's a route through there that does the 5K, and then you come back and you finish running to the Princess Gates with the CN Tower in the background. The charity is the Breakfast Club's charity. Rick Gosling, that's who we did the bicycle ride on the Honda Indy track. We had donated, the first year we did it, we had 100 children and bikes donated, and they built the bikes with Toronto police officers who then taught them how to ride the bikes. Last year, we doubled that. We had 200 children get bikes, build them with police officers, and ride the track. And unfortunately, the Honda race, because of FIFA, has left us to go to Markham, but they'll continue the tradition there, and I'll continue to help out there. But this run will be a run walk with the proceeds going to the Children's Breakfast Club that feeds 6,000 children every day throughout the Toronto region. It reaches out to the Durham region, the Halton region, and Peel and Toronto. So it's a great cause, and we've got great partners. We got Empire Communities, Rick and Dan Gazzetti, who stepped forward to sponsor, Oakview Group to sponsor, and Leuna Local 506 and 183, Joe Mancinelli, Carmen Principata, that stepped forward there to sponsor. And so we got some good sponsorship. It's a great way to set a resolution for the new year. It's a 9:30 in the morning run. So, you can still have a lot of fun at night and make it out, and bring family and friends and start the year off in an active way. So I'm hoping that if you're not interested, that you pass on the word that it's a great opportunity, and we hope to see you out here. I guess my last thought is just a lot of people have thoughts about Exhibition Place, but it's amazing how few of those people have actually come down here to live the experience. And I know from the late October to the mid-May, the breezes and the winds off Lake Ontario make it a very difficult place to walk and enjoy, but there's lots of great opportunities, and there's lots of events that take place, and there's a lot of community events taking place. And so I hope you take a moment to either reacquaint yourself to all the things taking place down here, and to come out, and feel free to reach out or send me a line if you got questions or want to speak about something. I thank the team for the opportunity to speak tonight, because the big thing for us is that void of information about Exhibition Place and what we are. We're very progressive. We're a family-first organization. My staff, I've got the lowest sick time rate. I think it's 1.6 days, I think is the last time I saw it, which is unheard of. We really try to have a progressive, fun place that does great work, because we know that we're working on behalf of the citizens of Toronto. I take it seriously. I take public service seriously, and I try to make it simple and straightforward. So thank you to everybody, and I'm open. I don't know how you want to do it, Ed, but I'll leave it to you on questions.
Great. Well, thank you, Don. Thanks very much. And there we are. Okay, so I'm going to so you, as people know, how we usually do this is we I have my co-conspirators are the Ed Hora, and wherever Ron is, let me see. I'll just move this window. There's Ron. Hi, Ron.
Howdy.
I'll just add. So we'll sort of do a little panel thing, and we also have questions that people have put in the chat. Um, and I've got a couple from earlier on. So I thought I just we also have some questions we want to ask, but I just want to I'll ask one. So asking about the financial hit from the Indy and how that's what that's going to do, how that's going to affect you, Don.
Yeah, so the financial hits, it's really not that great a hit. It's a very valuable weekend. But what we do in the corporate business in other events, this one was really, I think it's more the city, right? From an economic impact perspective, because it was priced at a level that really recognized that the economic value to the race in the city, and so. And it encumbered the track. I mean, anybody who lives in this area or comes through the grounds, there's about a 4 week build beforehand and a 3 week teardown at the end, and it really encumbers a lot of the buildings. It makes it very difficult for us to sell a lot of buildings as we're moving forward. And so I love car racing. I watched Lando Norris win last week in F1. I get it, but there's so much more we can do with the grounds. And we've already had a large event people kicking tires right now, to use a car analogy, of doing events here. And so we've got lots of opportunity to fill that void moving forward. And maybe one day they come back, but yeah, it was just not possible. Nobody was willing, they weren't willing to take a year off, and we had to have them take a year off because there just wasn't the space. They weren't willing to take the year off, and nobody was willing to take them for 1 year only. And so that's what led to it. But we'll come back with I would hope bigger and better.
And where's the phase 2 hotel? And is that esports facility? Is that still a live-ish thing, or is that in
Yep.
on hold?
So what you've got is you've got Hotel Phase 1, Stanley Barracks. Then you have the performance venue, and then you have the hotel. And if you just picture that there's that walkway bridge that goes to Ontario Place, essentially the venue is on the east side and the hotel is on the west side. But there's still parking between it and New Brunswick, which is the roadway that comes up from Ontario, from Lakeshore.
So these are immediately west of the existing hotel. Is that
That's
right?
correct.
All right.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
And
so it's
those,
esports, live music. So I'm picturing, I think the business plan's built off about 200 lit nights. And of that, there's probably 40 to 50 that are esports, and there's probably like 150, 160 that are live music.
right. So that means you'll have two live music venues on site, correct?
That's right. Yeah. And that's one of the things.
Plus
Yep. Sorry.
the
Go
ex
ahead.
plus the expanded whatever I know I still say the Sky Dome, right? But plus the expanded whatever Budweiser stage is going to be.
Yeah, so the RBC, I'll
That's
give
right.
I'll
Yeah.
give Dave Mackay before he shoots me when he sees me. But yeah, the RBC theater. But you know what? I mean, one of the things that I'm looking at is in 2000, talking about the Honda Indy, is a music festival, a North by Northwest, like a large music festival that would take the grounds, and you'd have these different spots where you could go to for live music shows.
Right.
And you've got the whole of Enercare indoors. You've got the outdoor areas. You've got Bandshell Park. You have the tenants that would play into that. You got QE Theater for sort of smaller 1,600. It's got, there's people that are looking at these kind of things, and it would be like you know, It could be a large music kind of event. That's just one of the ideas, but it certainly will be. And that's what our site, right? You go back to the our vision, be Canada's premier destination for conventions, exhibitions, events, and entertainment, right? And that fits in line. What we're trying to do is get outside that ticketed event particular so that it opens it up for those more casual drop by and enjoy.
Now, you mentioned the year-round food building because someone else, but before you got into that section, there had been the questions saying, is there going to be like a winter market? And like, are we going to be able to go there in the winter and, have food and what have you? So I think you were basically talking, you already sort of went over that as a vision, right?
Yeah, so food building, yeah, having its own food kind of food hall, but might have live entertainment, might be open all the time. It might open up partially on an ongoing basis, then open up for events and those kinds of things that take place. And then without getting into it too much, but it's looking at that sort of the reuse of the Better Living Center and getting our head around it's a big space. It's 4.5 acres of land. And do you keep the front half of or front quarter of it towards Ontario? So you have that great architecture and you have that entrance, you got washrooms, you got, heat. And then in the back, do you do a festival plaza, which is essentially where you could do your winter market, and it could be an extension of the one of a kind show outdoors with all sorts of activities that take place there. It could be Oktoberfest. It could be street festivals, quite literally, that are doing
And
it on a street now that might
right.
move into that spot. So those,
Well,
again,
and
that's
you've
concept discussion, and we'll see where that all goes.
and you've never to my knowledge, I may be wrong, Don, you will correct me immediately, but to my knowledge, you've never hosted like a night market, which is, traditional Han Chinese cultural market.
That's right. That's right. And we're
But is
working with the
that
CNE.
something you can do?
Yeah, so I'm not in the event business. I'm in the support the environment to create the event.
Right.
And so one of the big things, right? And it's a big distinction, right? Because you don't want to get in competition, but one of the things we're working with the CNE, right? Mark Holland, their new CEO, and that is what can they provide? They've got they admit it themselves. They got a large staff team and they do a phenomenal event with the CNE, but could they do more? Could they do different? What else could they do? And so that could be one of our providers in this space that would take on that type of thing. The Toronto Arts Foundation, like I've reached out to a lot of these groups. Kelly with the Art Foundation, like those types of things to come in to look at them, right? To see what could take place here. That's where we did the sketching series, the photography series, but it could be larger than that that takes place here on site.
So you just so I take it that you're in the current vision forward, the CNE isn't going anywhere. Like it's not going to Markham or Sudbury or wherever. It's staying here.
Yeah, so I shouldn't probably because I know this is taped or whatever. Yeah, so there's been challenges in the past. I tried to build up a good relationship with the last CEO. I'm not going to be the one. I embrace them. They're great people. It's a great event. I watched the 1.4 million people come down here and enjoy it, but it's trying to do it in such a way that it doesn't hinder the rest of the year, right? And that's why the moving out of the food building, the storage, maybe setting up proper storage underneath the Gardiner Expressway in a section. So because the cost of moving stuff off the grounds and back is like it's like $1 million too, I think was their number. So you can't afford to do that for the CNE, but you can free up that space. That space is Boardwalk or Park Place. If you were to play Monopoly, the food place is Boardwalk or Park Place because you're going to come right off that Go in Ontario line, and that's where you're coming, right? So the CNE provides some really great. They've got great staff, so I see them doing it. I'm not the one that's going to be suggesting or doing it. I'm playing with and trying to pull them together to make it even a better space.
Right. Uh, so given the hybrid nature, so just refresh us on the city. Am I correct in thinking the city owns the city owns all the land
City's the landlord.
and
Yeah.
the buildings? Some of the buildings are privately owned, some of the buildings
No, so
are
all
not.
city owned,
Okay.
all land, everything here is owned. So anything that's is leased, and I manage leases and I manage
Right.
tenants, and I work hand in hand with city real estate on those.
So the Hotel X, is that
A lease.
it's a lease. So the city technically owns that building.
Yeah, and they pay like
No, no, I'm
people.
sure they do.
I don't know, but most people complain about property taxes. their property taxes, I think the hotel's paying close to 2 mil a year. That's a lot of hotel rooms. Like
Right.
and a lot of jobs. And
Hmm.
so, but it's a lease, and then they pay a lease fee on top of that.
So can you talk a little bit about how, and I know that I think I can speak frankly and say I know that there's some folks, especially some of our friends in Parkdale Liberty and your immediate neighbors have had mixed feelings about public engagement, about the future of the X and and the operations can you speak to how you feel about, ongoing public engagement in
Yeah,
terms
I
of
haven't
what the,
talked to any of those people. So I tell those people to reach out because we have meetings on a very regular basis and we welcome them. So I'm not sure. I've been here 6 years. I've picked up the phone. I've met with an awful lot of people. Anybody who's reached out, nobody's not being reached out to. And we've put stuff out on not only on our web, but through all our social. So start following Exhibition Place. Be great. We have it on Instagram. We have a lot of information come out. Our website under community in that is on an ongoing basis, and we host a lot of meetings. We just had a workshop with a whole group of people who could speak to the input into it. So I'd be pleased to talk to if somebody's got an issue, but it ought to be before 2019, because I haven't heard that.
right.
If I could jump in, Don, first of all,
Please,
I'd like to
Ed.
really thank you for that presentation because I had no idea those things were going on, and I feel like I have to educate myself a little bit because I think, like a lot of people in Toronto, I feel like I know the CNE because I used to work there. I was there for 3 years, or the exhibition place. I was part of the entertainment staff at one time long ago. I used to ride a unicycle and juggle as part of the show, and I did these things and stuff, and I knew the place well, and then I have a perception, unfounded probably, that it was sort of this place that was empty a lot of the time. I think probably for the reasons that you said, and I feel like I haven't kept up at all, and I really should be clued in. I've walked around. Every now and then I go to the one of a kind show or whatever it is, and I go for a specific purpose. But what I haven't really done, and probably should do, is just kind of like go down and walk around on a nice day, as you suggested. And I guess what I'd like to know is, and I was very interested that you mentioned that there are tours. Maybe you could talk a bit about that. And the other question I would have is there a website where you talk about all of these things that are going on and where people can find out? And what's the best way for somebody like me who's way out of touch, really haven't explored it nearly as much as I should have, probably for decades, to kind of get involved and find out more about what's going on there?
Yeah. So unfortunately, social media, the one thing about Instagram is a lot of information comes out on it. So as much as I wouldn't follow a lot of things on Instagram, Exhibition Place has a constant information coming out on that. On our website, we have it under community, and all the activities are listed under them. They're quite
Okay.
dry. They're dry. I mean, they are dry. I mean, you're reading a website, right? And then we have our community meetings. And in our community meetings that are held throughout the year, we talk about the whole season coming up, and we go through all the events that are taking place here. And one area that, hey, is there things to improve here? 1,000%. That's what we're all about, right? Like, so that you can come down here. Aqua Dolce is a restaurant we have on site that, in the history of it, it's hardly open. And so, we're working with the tenant there to ensure that it's open. You can come down. Hotel X is great, but it's a little formal. It's a hotel. You're walking in the hotel to go for lunch. It can seem a little formal. So that's where the food building really begins to really have that place where you can come down, grab a coffee, and go for a walk, right? But I
So
watch.
you mentioned a tour. Did I hear that right?
Yep, yeah. There's
That you
tours on
sort
a
of
regular
say every now
basis.
and then somebody will go for a kind of take everybody to kind of walk around, see this and that and the other thing.
Yep, yeah, on a regular
Okay.
basis, and the tours are on our website as well.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it seems to me that one of the things that we could do is, because we do actually, when the weather gets better, we like to have a walk now and then. We'll have a waterfront for all
Well,
speaker talk
how
slash
about this?
walk.
I'll buy the coffee and tea and water,
Okay.
and we'll do a tour down here. And I bet one of my tenants would open up to do even more
Yeah.
and do a tour with your whole group.
See stuff that we don't normally see. I was down there
Yeah.
walking around, for example, a little while ago, in the fall, I guess it was, and I saw the Garden of the Greek Gods.
Yeah, E.B.
Uh,
Cox. Like
totally enjoyed that. I knew those statues as a kid, weirdly enough, up near Collingwood.
that's right, on
Them.
scale. Yeah.
So I kind of accept the idea that there's all kinds of surprises there and all kinds of things that most people just probably don't
And
know about.
yeah,
And I think it'd be kind of cool to get people knowing more about it, and also to do that as a way of perhaps producing input for you as to what things people would like to see and like to have happen. And
well, exactly. And the
all
Garden
that.
of the Greek Gods is a great example you bring up, Max, is because
Yeah.
so you had the Garden of the Greek Gods. They were, yeah, in Collingwood, right? And they
Yeah.
brought them down here. They put them here at Exhibition Place. They got put. The city then gave a lease to the Toronto Event Center and to Slacko Sarkowski to do a patio. And at the time he said, like, okay, well, all these statues are here. Are you not going to move them? And they were like, no, it's within your area. So he was like, okay, I'll put up a fence, right? And the next thing you know, people claim he's got them as a hostage and that you know, he asked for a lease. The city gave him a lease, and the statues were ended up there. And there was a big battle from. I don't know if you ever heard about it. I'm sure there's people on this call that heard about it. That was 2014 to 19. I got here on August 12th of 19, and by October we had a solution to move them all off and to create a garden. And Kathy Sutton, the daughter
Yeah.
of E.B. Cox, again, kind of like staff when I got here. I'll believe it when I see it. I'll believe it when I see it. And it was, when we got there within a year, and we created the Garden of the Greek Gods, and we were able to move all the statues into that. And we also worked with CAMH. So if you've been over, there's QR codes that you can use a phone on, and you can actually get it. And we did a whole partnership with CAMH on the mental wellness of art and public arts and walking. And,
Right.
and CAMH has done a whole study on that as we move forward.
Okay, for anybody who doesn't know what we're talking about, there's the Garden of the Greek Gods down there near the band shell, just to the east of the band shell.
Yeah,
All
just
all
south
these
of.
fantastic statues by E.B. Cox of all these Greek gods. They're enormous.
They're enormous and they're beautiful, right? And the
They're
park
kind of beautiful, and it's really a bit of a neat thing to see.
and it's a park-like setting, right? I mean, that's why when the ice cream truck's down here or whatever, it's like a great night to get an ice cream, go for a walk, see the sculptures. Now you got the butterflies if you're in migration season,
Mhm.
and this is where the whole Better Living Center, right? I'll say it's a bloody big building, right? And it had its purpose back when, but it's not slab on grade, so you can't put any weight loads in it. And so we're looking at trying to reimagining. And that whole area, if you can imagine, you'd have 3 acres of public open space overlooking the waterfront and the Garden of the Greek Gods. That's how large that area, even leaving a good section of that building, the heritage impact at the front of it, you'd leave it in there. And so we're going to be asking for public opinion and getting people's input into it, but it's just one of the areas of trying to make it again a more friendly place, a more active place, and one that could be event based.
One of the things I remember as a kid, again, is the Marine Museum, and I think Pam asked a question in the chat there about that, because I have definitely fond memories of that, and that big old ancient building there and all that. Is there any plan to bring that back? I'm not actually quite sure what happens in that building now, but
which building was this?
It was the Marine Barracks.
Oh,
and it had what I recall as a museum which related to the garrison in Toronto.
Maritime.
The Maritime.
Maritime. Yeah. So
Yeah,
one of
yeah.
the things, I've got the music buildings. It's the 3 pods,
Right.
and I felt honored, like crazy honored. I spent 3 hours with Moses Znaimer.
Oh yeah.
And what an interesting cat he is. Like he is just so, and he has TVs. He has a whole TV collection. He's a TV from the 1936 World's Fair in New York, the very first TV ever. He's got Marilyn Monroe's TV. He's got Elvis Presley's TV. He's got it's all about the beginning of TV, and it's about the people who invented TV, and we talk about the telephone and Alexander Graham Bell. We'll throw it up, but we won't say who invented the TV. Well, he has a whole thing of that in Liberty Village, and I've got another guy, Lou D, who did all the photography during the exhibition concerts in the '80s here in the city, and so he's looking at doing something in there like museum kind of like, and so they're collaborating on ideas that might be one of those things to drop in, see things would change. Could be school groups, it could be people, but it would have some real life to it. And then the third pod maybe being like a small coffee shop. We just go in for a basic coffee and whatever, and maybe it's a little artsy. It's a little bit like the Friends episode kind of thing. So those are the kind of ideas that are floating around on that space.
In terms of planning, I know there was a master plan, phase one, and that was like what, was that 2018, 19? Was that
29, yeah, just before
20?
I think I was here for 72 hours before I went to Pritt to get some input into it. So, so yes.
And so were there were there future phases of the site master plan?
Well, that master plan spoke about early start projects,
Hmm.
and a lot of them were connectivity, and there's a lot of things I just talked to you about tonight.
Right.
That concept plan really builds off of it. This site, if you take this site's been more studied. Yeah, I mean, again, I don't want to not bash the city of Toronto or anyone, but this site's been studied more than any place that I've ever seen. There's studies and master plans and festival plazas and so many. Enough with the studying. Like talk to people, see what people are interested in, take the very good work that we've got all those years, and that's what I brought in. I brought in a group, TLA, Jeffrey Kraft, to go through all the plans and say all the plans you've got here, juice it down to me like it's almost like Chat GBT. Summarize it and give me the best ideas of all these plans that will make this place work and make it more intimate and make it more friendly, more welcoming. And so that's what comes out, I believe, comes out as a starting point in this discussion document, which is this concept vision, which stemmed out of the master plan.
Right. I mean, I think a lot of people, I think, have felt, even people who are more frequent visitors to a variety of events and activities, right? Um, that and I think you've been speaking to that, Don, but there's a sense that a perception either that nothing much is going on some parts of the year, and or that it isn't sort of like connected to the fabric of the city in a way. You don't necessarily, even though you actually can wander in. It's sometimes, I think some people perceive that you sort of can't. I mean, I presume that the Ontario line and improved Dufferin bus service and things like that will help with that sense of connectivity for people.
Yeah, and the 509, right? The 509 comes in here, but it's interesting because I'm on the one line, right?
Yeah.
So, it had to take like a 19-year-old staff to actually educate me after me doing this for 4 years. But he's like, why don't you take the one line to Union Station and take the GO train over? And I'm like, what? He's like, it's one, it's one fare. And so when you get there, just time it so you get to Union Station, and it's a 9-minute trip from Union Station on the GO to Exhibition Station. And I'm like, oh, that sounds interesting. And so I haven't taken the 509 now in probably a year and a quarter because I take the one to Union Station, I time it. I might have a 5-minute wait. I jump on the GO train. I go one stop. It's about 7 to 9 minutes, and I'm at Exhibition Place.
And
It's one fare.
with the Presto card. Yeah. With the
Presto
Presto
card, yeah,
card, it's
or your
one
credit
fare.
card or debit card. It's the
Yeah.
same. So
Same
one
thing,
fare no
right.
matter what, and you're there, right? So, but it is challenging. Like you've got the Gardner Expressway on the north, and
Yep.
I mean, I go with some of the fellows from Leuna for the odd one at the local, and you are crossing over you're going through a tunnel, you're coming up, you're walking up a street. There is this disconnect. So that's why the food building has to be special. It's got like whatever we do has to be something you're not going to get somewhere else. And it's got to be different. And for the person coming in out of town or on the train somewhere, instead of going north to Liberty, they'll come south and they'll experience Exhibition Place. That's where we're hoping. Like we're bringing in the 4 to 6 million people through, like 4 million through that way. We want them to come an hour, 2 hours early, stop at the food building, experience it, enjoy it, have music, and maybe go to Bud Stage, go to a PWHL game, go to a WNBA, go to a show, just go for a walk. And I walk it at least 2 nights a week, all the time, and more baby carriages, more people walking, more families that are sitting on park benches overlooking the water down by Banshell Park than ever before. If you go by Centennial Park on any night, it's the most beautiful, well-kept park. Like my background's parks. I mean, 1982, I started in the Parks Department in Brampton. Like I love parks and I love good parks. You go to Centennial Park, it's spotless, it's perfect. There's grass everywhere, and it's picked up, and everything works. And so that's our big thing. Our washrooms are open up at the earliest in the spring. They're kept open as late as we possibly can in the winter time. We maintain them in the Horse Palace, and we want pristine parks, and that's going to be our differentiator to make people do the extra walk to come underneath the bridge or ride their bike to come enjoy the Exhibition Place. That's where we're shooting for.
People are talking about improved lighting. I think you mentioned that too, more improved lighting. Oh, we've got a couple of suggestions for the food building for you here.
Yep.
A time out market or borough market, on the South Bank.
Well, that's exactly it. The Lisbon, the time out market in Lisbon. I had a grilled squid on a hot dog bun there a few years ago. That's exactly what this will be, with some local entertainment, like some grassroots entertainment that are casual. You come in, they're strumming a guitar. It could be an incubator for that kind of thing. Now, the person who said about the lighting, were they suggesting that the lighting should be better?
Yeah, well, some people are suggested that they feel that there's some dark zones where the lighting
Yeah.
is sort of missing.
Have they been down recently?
I don't know. Have you been down recently?
Because
that
like,
was
because I
okay.
could tell you we just did all new light. Like, I'm not saying there's not a dark zone, right? Like on the food building, on the back of the food building, I haven't done lighting because we're going to redo it. I don't want to spend money twice, although I might put a little bit in there. But all back through like you walk Manitoba, it's lit right along now. And my staff were complaining because it was all red, highlighting the red color coming down, and they think because I'm a Montreal Canadiens fan that I did this on purpose, and that I have all the buildings done in red. And so I had to defend myself this afternoon at an all-staff Christmas thing. But yeah, no, it's so the lighting, like it went from, and it's aluminum's like 2 to, like, the standard was like 8, we went to 10, like, so. And I take the feedback. So if somebody has it, send me a text. My cell's 905-961-0275. I'm the only person who gives out a cell phone. Or email me, but I don't know where that would be. And I'd love to, if there's somewhere that it's not, then, if we're not, maybe there's an area we haven't got, but we have got a lot of, like, we've put in a significant amount of work in lighting.
You mentioned Lisbon, and I'm wondering if there are other cities that have exhibition grounds or things that are similar to the CNE, or that used to be not CNE to Exhibition Place, or that had those things and converted them or adapted them, or are there international models to look at?
Yeah, so the one it was in Vienna where they've left in an amusement park, but it's great seasonally. But again, when it's midweek, there's very few people there, right? And so it's just the value of our land in here in the amount, but there's truly. And again, this is where the CNE, right? And Ed asked me the question right at the beginning, like, is the CNE to stay here, right? If there was no CNE, it's a game changer, right? Because now you're looking at, you could do retail, because you don't need the parking lots the way they are, because that's all the events, it's the rides, like you need that, right? Like right now, once the hotel and the venue's built, the CNE's got less and less space. And if you're down here on any night of the week during the CNE at night, it's very, very busy. And so that's all event space. And so they can't do with any less space. Now, if you didn't have them here, then you might be able to do different things. Like you might do 2 levels of underground parking. You might do above ground parking. You might do above ground parking to open up more open space, right? So you take a space and put 3 stories, but you open up a bunch of space now that you can do public parkland on. And so where you can't put up any structures, or like FIFA Village for the around the game, not the Fan Fest, but the FIFA Village. That's all 8-5. That's all the parking lots south of BMO Field. Like it's all going to be tented and village-like settings. And so you need that for those kind of events, or you can't attract those, right? And that is the challenge of, do you continue this way, or does somebody make a decision and say, no, move everything to, quote, Woodbine, or move it all to Downsview, and here we're going to go a different one and make it more animated, add a little bit more commercial with it, make it like a Nashville with the music and all that kind of stuff. And where the buildings, because the QE Hall is used for the CNE. You can't make that a live music venue, because then what do they do for the CNE period? The Better Living building, or the space, the lands that it's on, is used by the CNE. If you did something permanent like indoor pickleball courts, or you did whatever you did in that area, you then got to free it up for 30 days to bring the CNE in for that period, right? And so that's always been my challenge here, is how do you do the things and still meet the clients that you have here? And people will come up with things, and yeah, if you're willing to blow people off or blow things off, that's one. But I work at a public, in a public space, and it's going to take somebody else to come up with that, right? So there's certainly compromise, and that's why making it Barcelona was the city I was thinking about, with a mall kind of thing. Like I see the West, when you come off the Ontario line, that you're just going to be enthralled in a promenade mall experience. When I say mall, not a shopping mall, but a mall kind of experience down there to the waterfront, in this hub with activity and things that are taking place. And my idea is, partially that space where the Better Living Center is, that will be great animated space, right? That could be used, and it opens up 3.5 acres of public open space on the grounds, as opposed to a building that's utilized, got a 20% utilization rate.
Don, can you talk to us a bit about sorry, I'll quickly ask this, then turn it over to you, Ron. Can you talk to us briefly about the FIFA World Cup? I assume that that's a pretty high priority for you folks right now to get that up and going in a fairly short time. So is there pressure on that? I imagine there is.
Yeah, lots of pressure. Just half a second. Yeah, no, but we could, who knows? But yeah, I'm just being kind to Belinda, because she's here, and I just wanted her to know that she could take off if I'm talking too much, and she can go do something important.
Thanks, Belinda.
Thank you, Belinda.
No, she stayed. Thank you so much. That saved me. FIFA. So the stadium is being built. We've got that all going on. We've got the village going on. We got game day +1 with traffic and that coming through. The logistics of that not Fan Fest, but the FIFA Village, that will be the south end of the stadium. Media Center will be in the Better Living Center, I believe. We got the QE Hall. So all the spaces are booked, and they booked them as of, I think it's March. They started doing a lot of things. First game is June 12th. And so that's heavily on, but nothing stops, right? The boat show is in here. All our shows still take place. And I got Shopify to move to July. Shopify is 7,000 staff, 3,000 vendors, and it's about a $50 million spend for the week here in the city, between hotels and what they do here. And so it's big, and they've made their home here, their head office. They got Ottawa, but they've got a big office here, and so it's a great company. Harley Finkelstein, who's the CEO, just a wonderful guy, lots of energy, and he's using some of our tenants this year. So broadening out as far as for his staff kind of thing here. So yeah, FIFA is a big deal.
So I think we were talking before the meeting started, and I got the feeling from you that you don't know too much more about what the province might want, a sliver of your land there, or our land there. You don't know much more than we do from reading the news. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, and in my chair, Deputy Mayor Asma Malik, the city's talking to them. They're trying to clarify what it actually means, what's their intention. I mentioned to you before we started. We believe it's about. I believe it's about lay down space, logistics for the building of Ontario Place. It's not about taking anything over. The servicing, we've been working cooperatively on them with that and moving forward. And so that's our expectation. But they use a word in that legislation, encumber, and we need to get a definition of what that is because at the moment, encumber could mean anything. It could be me booking an event that's taking place in the next little bit. And so I can't book those events. We need to get a definition of that and have some discussion.
Right. And you don't want them piling large steel caisson beams, in the middle of the CNE.
Well, no, but no, yeah,
I'm just
no,
kidding, but
no, but Ed, you're right on. Like that's like it's having that. Like, what is it? How much space is it? Do you really need space? We're just surmising, right? And nothing worse than surmising sometimes. And so, it's trying to go through that. But we need to have a plan and put it in place. And we'll see if as they move on. There's certainly since I don't believe there's going to be any kind of a construction or move ahead until after FIFA at this point. So it's probably fall of 26 is probably the earliest that anything sort of takes place, and we'll try to learn more from them as the days go on.
Thanks for that, Don. Um, so interesting that just not only I think is there's some enthusiasm and interest in perhaps having you back, and a walking tour would be fabulous. I think there's also I just wanted to make an observation, Don, that people are very interested in the territories around you, like Coronation Park, which of course you have that's Parks, Recs, and Parks, Forestry and Recreation, City of Toronto. But people are sort of naturally drawn to thinking about the way the spaces adjacent work.
Yeah, Maryland Bell
And
Park.
what? Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, Maryland Bell Park.
Yes, for example, and some
Yeah,
of them are, some of those spaces to be fair could be refreshed or
yeah,
improved, and the connections could be worked on. And I think that's just been a sort of sidebar chatter. So I've suggested, just FYI, that's probably maybe a future speaker series. We could talk about the areas around you. You're more than welcome to participate in that if you want to. But I
yeah,
think there is some curiosity and interest in how those spaces are managed and how they can better connect to places
yeah.
like your place, right?
Yeah, no, and that's why I want to come on is one of those ones that you have a very passionate group and move forward. And I did anytime there's a void, it's just people will fill that void and they'll fill it with whatever they want to fill it with, right? So that's and some of the stuff is just like it's like proper cycling storage lockers. How do you do that for an event space? We need to do a better job. So that's one of the things in the sort of concept of how do we formalize that and make it more like like a Denmark or some of these countries that have lots of bicycles and people are coming in because we have more and more people that have that ability to come in. So what can we do on that? The other is, again, money, right? I'm a realist. And so what you'll see in the concept is what I believe is affordable and hits the right mode. It's not going to be another plan that can never be done. Right? How many plans do we see that like University Avenue, all greened up? You get all these plans, but they're not possible. And so what I tried to do was come up with a plan that I think will move us huge strides forward, but be done in a pragmatic manner that is real.
There have been a lot of sidebar comments in the chat. I think what we won't be able to do tonight is to dig into them all, but we should probably extract them and send them to you, Dawn, so that you can see what people are asking who haven't had a chance to have a formal question in the chat. And when you were talking about cycling, I was thinking, the Martin Goodman Trail sort of bypasses the exhibition place. I don't know how you could do it to sort of have it loop up through or put a spur so that cyclists on the trail could come in through the grounds that way.
Yeah, and we have bicycle paths on Princess Boulevard. There's a whole bicycle lane through the grounds, and quite frankly, the grounds we have a lot of people who bike the grounds. Like if you come here in a summer night, there's probably 50 cyclists that are doing laps, they're doing training, they're doing stuff. And that's what gave me the idea on the Honda Indy on the Saturday night was, my God, the track's closed at 6 o'clock. We could introduce cycling to it. And that's how I brought up the idea. And Rick Gaza was like, I got 200 bikes. Like, here we go. And so we did the cycle. We had people cycle on it for a few hours and they got the experience of being on the Honda Indy track to cycle, right? So, and that's the same as this run on New Year's morning. Like it's a day to come on, no cars and come and use it and come through, right? And so it's been good. And Bruce is saying, yeah, the tours, he does tours and we'll connect you guys to the tours as we move forward. So, and bike share is here, by the way. So we have bike share here. We have 2 locations with bike share on the grounds, one by Hotel X and one by Princess Gates. And so, and actually, I don't know if there's one by the GO Train, but we need larger, higher capacity space for bikes. There's no doubt. So there's lots of improvement, and that's where you can almost see like a seamless. There were bridges like this bridge over Ontario Place. Like build a bridge that seamlessly has cycling on it that brings you across and brings you down to a roadway and brings you back and forth, right? As opposed to lights.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, it's true. I did a lot of work with, Hummingbird, Sony, whatever, Meridian, O'Keefe back in the day. And of course, that facility, as I'm sure you probably recall, was meant to pay its own way, right? Even though it's a city-owned facility. You're meant to pay your own way, aren't you? Right?
Yeah,
You're meant to cover your costs, right?
I'm the only agency that has loans, that has to take loans where all the other agencies are just given cash. Like the animals at the zoo and Dolph, any of you that know Dolph at the zoo, he's a good friend of mine, so I'm just bugging him here. But like the animals get treated really well, and he doesn't have to pay loans for the apes to have a gorilla cage, right? And I think the city invests somewhere around $12 million in there is what it invests, which means that's what it loses on an annual basis, right? We pay about $5 to $6 million in loans, and we make about 2 or 3 million, and we invest probably another 2 or 3 million into the site. So it's about, and we look after all the park grass cutting, we look after all the lighting on the grounds, we look after all the fountains on the grounds, we look after all the heritage features on the grounds. We do all our own snow plowing, salting, garbage. Is all done on the grounds, which doesn't have a revenue source to it. So that's what I'm making off of a couple of billboards on Lakeshore, the convention business, the automotive business, and the tenants. The tenants, actually, off the top of my head, but I think it's might be 8 to 10 million is what I pick up off tenants revenue. So it's significant, right? So, but it's significant dollars, and I'm not worried about it. But what we try to do is to invest it back into the site, right? That's during the year, is just trying to make it so that it's, when you get here, you go, wow. Like if you walked to Enercare this last July, we planted all the planters along the Enercare, the entire length. And like it was absolutely gorgeous. It's all lit now. And it was stunning. It was like, I was the director of recreation. Well, University Avenue used to look like University Avenue. And I had a guy, Jim Guardhouse, who was my foreman in parks, who did it. And when I said the parks guys here, I said, do anybody know Jim Guardhouse? And thankfully, one person said they did. And I said, well, I want the Jim Guardhouse, University Avenue. I want that to be my Princess Boulevard. I want that to be the Enercare. Like that's the standard we're looking at. We want people to come in and go, wow, this is nice. And so we're only at the beginning. It's you're moving. It's moving a big organization, but people are rowing in the right direction. They want to do good and make a difference, right? So, and that's why people like yourselves that care. That's all. That's our best customer, right? It keeps us honest. It gives us good information, and if everything goes well, then you become our biggest supporters. And you say, you got to do this. This is going to work. I'm comfortable with it, and that's my job to make that happen.
I would just love to have, I'm going to put a little personal plug in. I'd love there to be a lovely patio, large scale public patio we could hang out on, and, somewhere thereabouts, all like up from May to October,
Yeah, with music. What I want to do is
Yeah.
I want to, because the theatrical union here is very strong, and you hit a switch, you need to pay kind of thing. So we're trying to do a lot with we call it.
Overtime.
Yeah, well, no, you know what? They're great
I'm
men
s-
and women. Like they do great work. It's just when you're trying to do something like I just want some background music, you can't afford to pay $3,000. Like if I do Bandshell Park and I do Centennial Park, like people have to carry their own equipment out. It's 7,000 a night if I want to bring audio. And so it makes it
Yeah.
really so one of the things we're looking at is plug and play, where speakers will be installed on light posts like in Bandshell Park. And when you walk through there, and then we different themes, different days, but it'd be plug and play, right? It's done by Wi-Fi and it gets played, and there's one central place that sends it out, and you get that throughout the grounds. Those are the kind of things we're looking at that can be done very affordably and with no big staff cost to it, right? At the end of the day.
Speaking of costs, just a quick question, just to clarify, the people, the building tenants, the tenants who have buildings like BMO Field and the hotel, etc., are they responsible for paying for their own maintenance of those facilities?
100%. So
Right.
I'll give you a good example. Like one of the tenants that I know there's enough people who don't like them, and they're actually very good people. But I'll use him as the example. As Slacko Starkovsky at the Toronto Event Center, the horticulture building. He hired Clifford Restoration to redo the dome that he's got there, the large dome. It was $1.2 million he paid this past year on resealing, glazing, and all LED lighting on that dome. It's about 85 feet in the air. That was 1.2 million in his capital that he had to do as part of his lease cost. All the HVAC systems, all the systems in there, they're responsible 100% for all of them. And so the buildings are maintained really, really well. And they do it. And Nick and Pat DiNonato, wonderful family, great operators at Liberty Grand. Same thing. They just finished their dome. They've done restoration on the lions, the statues all around the building. In that's all on their dime.
Right.
You got to sell a lot. You got to sell a lot of beer and steaks to pay for to pay for it, right? So they employ a lot of people and they do a great job. Like we held the TIFF 50th anniversary. And we partnered with TIFF and Cameron Bailey, and we did the drone show over top medieval building, and we had the event inside Liberty Grand, right? It was a phenomenal event that Exhibition Place partnered with, and so that was just this past September, right? So there's events happening. Like I'm surprised at the events, so I can imagine somebody who doesn't come here. I'll leave here and be driving and see headlights driving in and thinking, where the heck are they going? And I'll find out it's a Spanish artist that sold out with 8,000 people at Coca-Cola, right? And that happens more often than not that's taking place. There's 49 concerts there now. And once you take the month of August with the CNE, you take the Royal for 3 weeks, 2 weeks of it, with 4 weeks the setup, takedown, and the events. You take the boat show. It's the largest lake in North America. When they bring we fill up the rink with the water, and they do that. You start taking those weeks out, and then they have, I think it's like 49 concerts taking place there this year. And then you have the PWHL Women's Professional Hockey, and you're going to have the WNBA there this May.
That's right. I think the other thing too, of course, is that all the tenants and the event producers, they're the ones they're responsible for their own marketing too, right?
Yes.
So you don't do that for them.
No.
Like
But we
you don't
do
have
if
you
you
don't
have
have
our
an
social
in-house
page.
team, right?
But if you go to our social page, every month we put it the whole month schedule.
Okay.
And like last month, I think like there's probably 16 live music entertainment events. There was 7 sporting events. There was shows. There was like, and it just goes on. And we're working with Blog TO, Culture Toronto, and so but just on our site, it shows you every month the
Right.
list, the calendar of all our tenants, because that's one of the value added things I did in the last year was we need to promote ourselves. We need to get it out, and so. But you need to be part of the Instagram and follow Exhibition Place, and you'll see that kind of stuff.
And you do there's link and on the website too,
And
correct?
on the website. But I think like personally, the Instagram is nice because it just pops up, right? And you don't have to follow a bunch of people. If you just
is it it's the Instagram is what, at the X or
add X Place.
X Place?
Yeah. But if you probably just do Exhibition Place, it will pop up. and it's our official one. But it has all the events, and it's a full calendar.
Okay, great. So,
I saw Susan Hughes on this, by the way, and there's probably tons of Susan Hugheses. But if it happens to be Susan Hughes from that used to work at Todd Morton Mills, I'd just like to say hi.
we'll see.
Susan- yeah.
So when do you think you'll? Oh, yes, it is. It's Susan Hughes from Todd Morton Mills.
Beautiful. She's a superstar.
Susan, you're a superstar.
She is. That was the our old East York days. So I was the manager of program services back in 1990, and Susan looked after Todd Morton Mills, and she'll smile right now because they tried to make it the land of broken toys because they would just dump in different artifacts, and like if they didn't have a house somewhere else, and that's how Exhibition Place kind of was, is if they didn't have a house for it somewhere else, they would drop it into your place kind of thing, right? Even if it made no sense. And so, but Susan did an amazing job in city culture.
As my 18-year-old would say, back in the 1900s.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So,
So when do you think so when's the next exciting round of announcements? I think you hinted you might want to come back. So when would that be
yeah, so
approximately?
I think to be safe, it's probably going to be an April board report.
Okay.
And so it'll probably be right after that. I'm trying to push it earlier, but
Okay.
sometimes it's like pushing things uphill, or pushing a rope. And so it probably April and be realistic. And then, yeah, hopefully we have something to talk about. And I'm serious about let's stay in touch to do a community walk here. We do one in the spring when it's nice weather. I'll host it and do something down here and go through
That'd be great.
Yeah.
That would be wonderful.
Just on the website here, noticing the self-guided walking tours.
Yes.
So that's great. Looks good.
Yeah, we have the self-guided ones as too. And then Bruce was on here earlier. Bruce does a lot of the tours.
Bruce does them, yeah.
Yeah, Bruce. Yeah, he does a great job at them.
There's Bruce. I see Bruce right now. I'm pointing a finger at Bruce.
Yeah, yeah. There you go. Yeah, no, he's really good. And that was like when I got here. And trust me, I've been around long enough. I mean, 40 odd years, 45 years, almost doing this. Is people lose faith and people fight for stuff and they fight and fight and fight. And people like Bruce and Rick, like I told those guys, I going back to literature, 2014 to 2019, there's a lot of effort and sadly there wasn't a lot of progress. And so I'd like to think that we've made a ton of progress in the 6 years, and there's so much more to be achieved moving forward, and we can achieve more together. And so it's trying to get people that can, I always say live with things like, okay, it's not perfect, but I could live with it, right? And that's where I think the Better Living Building will be I keep bringing this one up because I just think the opportunity to reuse, reimagine it, and for the public open space and what it can do to the community and to the site is invaluable. But I might lose that battle. But I'm going to throw it out there for the discussion, and we see where it goes. But it's having open. Sometimes everyone wants to save everything, and I'm saying, well, let's save definitely 1/3 of it or one quarter of it, and keep the really good historic piece, and then let's reimagine what the rest can be. Because if you're only using an asset 20% of the time, you're spending a lot of money on it, and 3.5 acres of public open space on the waterfront. I don't know what value you put on that.
Right. That's an interesting challenge. Okay. Well, I'd like to thank everyone who came this evening. Don, thank you so very much. We really appreciated having you. This was a great event. And for those of you who asked the question, yes, we do eventually get around to posting or recording this on our website. We are a team of volunteers. We work on a shoestring, almost imaginary budget. If you'd like to help us out, we appreciate donations. You can go to waterfrontforall.ca and click the donate button. It helps pay for things. We don't have large expenses, but it does cost us a couple of $100 a month to keep things on the road. Some of our board members kick in as well. But yes, it certainly helps. And we do have some intriguing ideas for future. We got some ideas for a future speaker series and a future Waterfront for All walk out of this evening. So that's certainly worth the price of admission. And we do have, since we will also be having our annual general meeting in Q1. We haven't nailed the date down exactly. Probably February. Probably we'll be back to all of you about that. I want to remind you that with a small donation of $20, you can become an individual member, or if you've already donated to us and we will be tallying that up. If you've given $20 in a calendar year or more, you are entitled to an individual membership in Waterfront for All, which means you can vote at the AGM and you can also stand for a board place or be involved in committees because Ron and Ed and I take the lead on putting our speaker series together, but we would always appreciate ideas and another hand or two pitching in. We'd very much appreciate that. So Don, thank you. That was fabulous.
Good, guys. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Don.
Thanks for the invite. I really
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it.
Okay, and to
Yeah.
everyone else, good night.
Okay.
And thank you. And we'll have happy holidays.
Thank you, Edward, for MC and great.
Yeah. Great job.
Okay.
Happy
See you later,
holidays.
guys. Bye.
Thank you.